Thingkho Le Malcha by KSO Media and Documentation Cell. Issue number 76. Sunday, 26 November 2023. Headlines. Kuki tribals to hold rallies in 5 states to demand separate administration. Allegation of IDP's data manipulation. Lamka JPO not to accept rations supplied by district administration. Haokip rebranded as Imphal, scheduled thieves strike again. Intricacy involving proposed UN left peace deal with Goy. Pre-pack cadre arrested for extortion activity. Digital India is global leader in internet shutdowns. Civil liberties activists. The grim of a 6-month-long proxy war. A 21st-century state-sponsored ethnic pogrom. Thingkho Le Malcha. Relief Center update. Hope Baptist Academy Relief Center. Bible Hill, Rinkai, Lamka District. Managed by SYOGHQ Relief Committee. Total inmates registered, 115. Male, 57. Female, 58. Kuki victims update AS on November 25, 2023. Deaths, 153. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. Kuki tribals to hold rallies in 5 states to demand separate administration. Seeking support for their demand for separate administration, equivalent to a separate state, for tribals in Manipur, 10 tribal MLAs, including ministers, met Mizoram Chief Minister Thingkho in Imphal and sought his intervention to resolve the ethnic crisis in Manipur. In a bid to intensify the demand for separate administration for tribals, the Kuki tribals will, for the first time, hold rallies in at least 5 other states besides Manipur on November 29. Ginzav Walzong, a senior leader of Manipur Tribal's apex body, Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, said on Saturday that the November 29 mega rally of the Kuki tribals would be held in Mizoram, Tripura, Delhi, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, in addition to different districts in Manipur. Thingkho, who is the president of the ruling Mizo National Front, MNF, revealed that the Manipur tribal MLAs, including ministers, met him in Imphal on Thursday and requested him to hold talks with the Naga leaders in Manipur and Nagaland regarding the current ethnic turmoil in the neighboring state. He emphasized that the Manipur legislators, belonging to Kuki tribals, were committed to maintaining a good relationship with the Naga tribal community during this time of ethnic strife in Manipur. I have requested the Manipur tribal MLAs and ministers to maintain close contact with the union government and keep him informed of what is actually happening in Manipur, he said. The chief minister reiterated that the MNF stands in solidarity with the ethnic kindred brothers and sisters in Manipur and other neighboring states as well as Myanmar, Bangladesh, and other countries. Mizoram is for all the ethnic Mizos around the globe, he stated while addressing party workers in Imphal. Thingkho, along with his cabinet colleagues and MNF MLAs, had participated in the Solidarity March, organized by the NGO's Coordination Committee in Mizoram on July 25 to express solidarity with the Kuki tribals affected by the violence in Manipur. 10 Manipur MLAs, including 7 belonging to the ruling BJP, have been demanding separate administrations for the tribals in the state since the ethnic riots began in the state. The central and state governments and BJP leaders have repeatedly rejected this demand and pledged to maintain a united Manipur. The IDLF has been demanding the removal of Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh since the beginning of the ethnic strife. Allegation of IDP's data manipulation. Lamka JPO not to accept rations supplied by district administration. Dismayed at the continuous manipulation of the internally displaced persons' data, the Joint Philanthropic Organization, JPO, Lamka, has resolved not to accept the rations supplied by the district administration until the data maintained by the District Administrative Office is verified with the Joint Philanthropic Organization. The Joint Philanthropic Organization is dismayed to learn the continuous manipulation of IDP's data by the district administration, decreasing the number of IDPs from the relief centers in the records of the district administration without prior consultation of Joint Philanthropic Organization is unacceptable, JPO said in a statement on Sunday. The philanthropic organization stated that there has been continuous effort from the organization seeking an explanation on the manipulation of data, but till date no valid explanation has been offered from the district administration. It is important to note that rations for the IDPs are distributed after careful calculation on the number of IDPs from the relief centers, it said. As such, due to the declination in the displaced persons' data, the philanthropic organization is compelled to take another extra effort to acquire the needs of the displaced persons, it added. After serious deliberations with different organizations under the banner of Joint Philanthropic Body, a consensus resolution was adopted on not to accept the ration supplied by the district administration until the data maintained by the district administrative office is verified with the joint philanthropic organization. The JPO has been unceasingly working for the welfare of the IDPs and also committed to protest further for the welfare and benefits of the displaced persons. The JPO also said that the act of continuous manipulation in the data might be perceived as questioning the trustworthiness of the JPO who took the initiative of looking after the displaced persons. As such, it said, the organization shall be pleased to handle the work to the district administration with immediate effect. Haokip rebranded as Imphal, scheduled thieves strike again. Métis, also known as schedule thieves, have once again revealed their true color. This time they have stolen the traditional attire of the kukis known as Haokip and rebranded it as Imphal. This not only is a classic case of cultural appropriation but amounts to cultural misappropriation comparable to the looting of artifacts and cultural pieces by the British Empire from its former colonies. The said Imphals renamed and marketed by the Métis are stolen Haokips that the Mayday looters looted from houses belonging to the Kukizo people in Imphal. Some of these Haokips are very well priced owing to the intricate design work involved in fabricating the cloth. However, the Mayday looters would have no idea of the exact value of such items as they are not the original owners. This traditional attire is worn by both the Kuki men and women. This includes the Thatis, Amal, Quaring, and Purimkalm. The design of Haokip resembles a diamond shape which draws inspiration either from the shape of a cucumber seed or the belly portion of a python. Originally known as Sampakip, Sampi equals python, cup equals downward facing. Note that in this case, cup does not mean knee, which literally means backside of a python. The Haokip designs resembles that of a python scale. And in the contemporary settings it is famously known as Haokip, literally meaning elephant's knee. This piece of traditional clothing holds significant social and cultural value to the Kukis. So much so that it has been recognized and documented by the Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, under Ministry of Culture, GOI. With that being said, the Kuki community is not surprised by this hideous act because Métis have this habit of maintaining everything which they fancy. Even before the conflict, tourist spots in Lamka like Jeljang Resort and Sikshui Resort was renamed by Métis on their Facebook pages. As mentioned above, the design patterns have specific origins and cultural meanings which our ancestors have drawn inspiration from nature and used their intellect to turn it into wearable clothing. This is indigenous knowledge, and by misappropriating Haokip and rebranding it as Imphal, the Métis have effectively violated the intellectual property rights of the Kukis. Added to this, it is also a case of constitutional violation of Art. 29. 1, where it ensures minorities in India the right to conserve their culture. Intricacy involving proposed UN-left peace deal with GOI. The Chief Minister of Manipur N. Biren Singh on Sunday said that the government is in an advanced stage of talks with a valley-based proscribed outfit and is likely to sign a peace accord soon, without taking the name of the militant outfit. The Manipur Chief Minister told media persons in Imphal that talks are going on in an advanced stage and a peace deal is likely to be signed soon in this regard. Yes, just that we are advancing in talks. And we are expecting to sign a peace accord with one big UG underground group very soon, said CM N. Biren Singh. Noteworthy here is that earlier two Chief Minister N. Biren Singh had confirmed that talks were going on between the government and a valley-based armed group. Biren Singh has constantly refrained from naming the militant outfit in question, but sources have hinted that the outfit is a prominent one, UN-left faction led by KH. Pambay. UN-left Pambay. Group's General Secretary CH The Nil on Friday said that the outfit would soon sign a ceasefire and hold talks with the government of India soon. Speaking on the occasion of UN-left's 59th anniversary at the newly inaugurated camp in Kukshin Kana area on November 25, CH The Nil said the proposed process may be termed as peace talk, and the UN-left Pambay would soon be engaged with Government of India authorities. CH The Nil allayed doubts over the minds of the public in Manipur by asserting that what the UN-left Pambay will be embarking upon will not be a surrender, as being speculated by unscrupulous individuals. He said it will be a process towards a negotiated political settlement. CH The Nil mentioned that the move towards ceasefire and a political settlement were reached after the leadership pondered over feelers. From New Delhi. It may be mentioned here that the proscribed Mayday militants who are having their bases in Myanmar have been fighting against the democratic forces in Myanmar, aiding the junta forces in subduing the pro-democratic forces such as the PDF. However, the democratic forces neutralized them on several occasions, which led to fleeing of the Mayday militants to India via the porous border. There were also several news reports of Mayday militants infiltrating into India in the last few weeks. Recently, the Democratic Forces, People's Defense Force (PDF), and Kuki National Army Burma claimed that they had raided and captured the camp of the Mayday militant group, UNLEF, in the Upper Tiamu township of Chin State in Myanmar, on November 24th. The Democratic Allied Forces also claimed to have confiscated documents and huge cache of arms and ammunitions. However, the intricacy involving the proposed peace deal is an intriguing one. Though the state chief minister in the UNLEF has already stated in public domain that they are about to enter into peace deal with the center government, the center is yet to comment on the issue. Most of the valley-based insurgent groups, BIGs, movement is a secessionist movement which is seceding away from the clutch of Indian government. Their demand is a sovereign Manipur kingdom. As such, there have been many instances of BIGs launching attack against Indian security personnel. The Mayday militants movement and that of the Kuki's underground groups is entirely different. The Kuki Sioux group's demand is under the ambit of the Indian constitution, while the Mayday militants defy the idea of Indian integrity. The UNLEF Pambay faction's proposed peace deal could also impede the peace process initiated by the center, as this has already raised apprehension among various communities in the state. Once the peace deal is signed, the government will likely allot the hill areas for setting up peace camp, mainly dominated by the tribals, which would surely be opposed by the tribals. The state government will be targeting the Kuki settlement areas in the hills for the peace camp, especially along the Indo-Myanmar border area in Churachandpur, Chundel and Thingkho in their pursuit of controlling trade relations with the neighboring countries. If at all, the peace deal is to go ahead, the center and state should take advanced precautionary measures to avoid another ethnic clash in the state by setting up peace camp for Mayday militants in the valley and not in the hills. Pre-pack cadre arrested for extortion activity. The Imphal Valley is no dearth of criminal activities, as many crimes have constantly emerged from the popularly known Death Valley of Imphal, reprimanding civilians for social media posts, mob lynching/madness, flogging of party-goers, rampaging extortion, and the Arambai Tangle acting as moral police. The Imphal Valley has become the epicenter of all criminal activities. Numerous cases of gunshots, threats, and intimidation at the innocent media civilians often reported in almost daily basis. In the latest case of extortion activity in Imphal, the state police has arrested one active cadre of the proscribed insurgent outfit People's Revolutionary Party of Kangli Pre-Pack from Imphal West District on November 25. Acting on special inputs, the Manipur police carried out a search operation and arrested the militant on charges of extortion. Manipur police took to Platform X and informed, today, November 25, 2023, Manipur police arrested one active cadre of Pre-Pack from Imphal West District. He was involved in extortion from general public. Further legal action has been initiated against the arrested person. Digital India is global leader in internet shutdowns, civil liberties activists. With the world's largest biometric ID database, a pioneering digital payment system for daily transactions, and a flagship space and satellite program, India knows the power of connected technology. But when trouble brews with political unrest or sectarian violence, authorities are quick to sever internet service to stem disinformation, cutting off millions of people who depend on the web for communication, information, and business. For authorities, internet shutdowns have become the first tool in their toolkit, said Indian online civil liberties activist Mishi Chaudhary. Some blackouts last hours, others days. Some stretch for months. In Manipur, more than 3 million people have been cut off from mobile internet since clashes broke out in May. That meant it took 2 months for Fijama Bungabi to find out that his missing 20-year-old son had been one of the more than 150 people killed in the violence. When the internet was briefly restored in September, photographs of the young man's corpse circulated on social media. Default policing measure. India, the world's largest democracy, with general elections due next year, is also a global leader in internet shutdowns, according to New York-based online freedom monitors Access Now. Of the 187 internet shutdowns it recorded worldwide last year, 84 were in India, the most of any country for the 5th consecutive year, it said. The main reasons India gave for the shutdowns were protests and the need to prevent cheating during exams, according to an analysis of blackouts from 2020 to 2022 by the Internet Freedom Foundation. The tactic helps the government shape its narrative as no counter voices emerge, said Chaudhary, founder of the Software Freedom Law Center. But she said the authorities fail to understand what the impact would be. Human Rights Watch argues internet shutdowns disproportionately hurt the poorest, who depend on the government's online social support systems. Nearly 121 million people were affected by shutdowns last year, HRW said in a report in June. In the age of digital India, where the government has pushed to make internet fundamental to every aspect of life, the authorities instead use internet shutdowns as a default policing measure, HRW's Jeshri Bajoria said in the report. Economic security. In Kashmir, a 500-day blackout in 2019 and 2020 cost the economy more than $2.4 billion, according to the region's traders. Internet access is vital for realizing economic security, Access Now said. From market vegetable sellers to larger businesses dependent on online apps for payment, the loss of internet access stifles trade. "I'm living hand-to-mouth," said Mark Funai, 42, who was working from home in Manipur for a New Delhi-based law firm when the internet was cut. Initially, he spent up to 12 hours a week commuting to the state border to send emails and make online payments, but eventually, he was forced to relocate to neighboring Mizoram state. The bans also hinder journalists. When protesters demanding job quotas in Maharashtra state torched the homes of lawmakers last month, authorities turned off the internet for 3 days. "The authorities usually suspend internet whenever they see some sort of disturbance getting worse," said Vinod Jair, a journalist in Maharashtra's Beat district. "Work was extremely difficult," said Jair, who had to leave the district to file his story on the incident. "It is our job to report facts and news accurately." Song and dance. The government says internet cuts curb disinformation by stemming rumors from spreading on social media or mobile messaging applications. In August, authorities blocked the internet in parts of Haryana state, just north of the capital New Delhi, when at least 6 people were killed in sectarian conflict between Hindus and Muslims, violence exacerbated by posts online. External Affairs Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar has dismissed the big song and dance about internet cuts. "If you've reached the stage where you say an internet cut is more dangerous than the loss of human lives, then what can I say?" Jaishankar said in 2022. But internet access advocate Tanmay Singh points out that disinformation still spreads offline. "Your primary defense against misinformation is fact verification and fact-checking," said Singh, from the Delhi-based Internet Freedom Foundation. "That primarily happens on the internet. Blackouts also do not address the root causes of conflict, even if they can slow the spread of hate." In troubled Manipur, indigenous tribal leader Ginzavwal Zong said the violence had divided a community into rival ethnic groups. "The internet ban does not solve that issue," he said. Source: The New Indian Express. The grim of a 6-month-long proxy war, a 21st-century state-sponsored ethnic pogrom. The grim of a 6-month-long proxy war, the chaos and unrest at the heart of the state, a 21st-century state-sponsored ethnic pogrom. That is Manipur for you. Who sponsored hate to such an extent? Who cultured hate to such a magnitude? Why was such scrumptious hate welcomed? Why was such brutal hate celebrated? The W-Chos and the W-Chys, the instigators and the propagandists bear the burden of accountability of a spine-chilling ethnic cleansing, right here, right now. Breaking down the rifts prior to the 3rd of May 2023. Modern-day Nazi Germany. We look back and observe how hate was allowed to vanquish the goodness out of everyone. It all began with greed over tribal land and resources, culminated over the years since Biren Singh came to power, the huge eye over our hills, the desire to snatch away our identities, the desire to overthrow us, grew even more. Through an age-old tale of corruption and buying of polling stations and votes, and with the venture of the BJP-led government, we witnessed an even more significant incline towards corruption. And we were subjected to even more oppression. Hence, when suffering came, we were rendered helpless. And for this, our own power-driven, cash-hungry political leaders are to be blamed. The years went by, and we kept witnessing divisive elements at play, used by the majoritarian government to further the breakage. They tried their luck and did whatever they could. They played around with the Reserved Forest Act in an attempt to take away tribal lands, in an attempt to toy with our identity. Then came the infamous War on Drugs, ironically headed by Biren Singh himself, where he began to exclusively target one particular community for illegal poppy farming. A few interesting questions here. 1. If the government were to actually tackle the illegal drug trade and narcotics business, would their campaign really begin by targeting the poppy planters who are at the lowest position? If Biren's intention was to actually eradicate the twisted narcotic drug trade, why did the War on Drugs not book/investigate and arrest the drug cartels, the bulk suppliers, and the drug lords who are the ones facilitating and supporting the poppy farms by exploiting poor and unprivileged villagers? 2. If the war on drugs was an actual war on drugs, why were no criminal outfits who walk hand in hand with the drug cartels brought to light? In fact, if the issue of narcotics was actually the target, wouldn't Biren begin by targeting the powerful drug dealers instead of the powerless poppy farmers? 3. If the intent was to eliminate illegal drug trafficking, why did Biren Singh single-handedly point out a particular community, thereby brainwashing the masses to think of that particular community in such a light? Why, instead of trying to eliminate the root of the problem of the illegal drug trade, which he did nothing about, did he stage such a marvelous PR stunt? 4. The War on Drugs program was successfully used as a prelude to his upcoming scheme. Through the War on Drugs campaign, A particular community was made out to be targeted indirectly, and hence came the early stages of the divide. We now dive into the colloquial structure that led to the systematic construction of the divide. The us versus the narrative. Biren Singh now found his stronghold on cultural lines, on ethnic borders. He played with the sentiment of his people. He lit the flame of communal separation, and henceforth came the infamous term, a word thrown around a lot these days, illegal immigrants, the name insisted and forced upon us. The mass lineage structure was built into the minds of the majoritarian community, where they saw what they wanted to see and nothing beyond and above that. The name, the stinging array of illegal immigrants, was worked out to facilitate the division, and that gave way for communalism to creep in. They questioned our integrity and called us outsiders in our own homes, on our own soil. But little did they know that by questioning our integrity, they were questioning their government's integrity. They directed their hatred onto the word, and like the double-edged sword it is, summarized the in-depth hatred that had begun to crawl out. Then came the demand for inclusion of the state's Mayday community in the Scheduled Tribe, ST, category based on an April 19 Manipur High Court directive. The following days of April would witness protest and unrest in the state of Manipur, caused by the grievances of the tribals whose rights were close to being non-existent and extinguished. Biren Singh had already begun to push forth his anti-tribal agenda. 28th of April, a total shutdown was called by the IT left to protest against the illegal eviction of the Kuki tribals from their homelands and villages in the name of protected forests, reserved forests, and wetlands by the Manipur government, which had been happening for quite some time. For example, in the previous month, Songjiang village was unlawfully evicted not because the village was found illegal in any documented form, but because a certain Google Map imagery showed that it was built along the Churachan-Prakupam stretch of protected forests. This eviction, along with the unlawful removal of Kukizo citizens from their homes even in the capital city of Imphal by bulldozing them out of their residences, had been going on for some time, and at that point in time our churches weren't spared either, with around 3 churches being bulldozed and dismantled in Imphal East, all because the government conveniently declared that they had been constructed illegally. These happenings served as a trigger, and tensions began to rise while Biren Singh was set to visit Lamka the same day the IT left had called for a protest shutdown. His visit was cancelled. And to make matters worse, ISTV, a local Imphal-based communal news network channel, chose to call the Pate dialect an illegal dialect and hence started the branding of the word illegal immigrants. At this point in time, emotions were high, and the tribals were utterly upset with the way they were being treated. We also have to ask ourselves questions here. Why were the tribals upset? What caused them to take to the streets and protest to show their disappointment? Why did Biren Singh act in such anti-tribal ways? All these questions and all such circumstances were crucial in building up the collective disapproval of the tribals and their anguish towards the Manipur government's corrupt and brazen communal nature and method. Then came the 3rd of May. The All-Tribal Students' Union Manipur organized a statewide protest in the form of a tribal solidarity march to oppose the majoritarian Mayday community's demand for the ST status. Mind you, this solidarity march was attended by all tribals, not just the Kukizo community. The rally was a very peaceful and democratic procession and was observed around all tribal inhabited districts of Manipur. Therefore, the question arises, why was only the Kukizo community targeted when it wasn't a Kukizo rally, but a tribal solidarity march? Why was the Anglo-Kuki War Centenary Gate vandalized, and why was Torbung stormed upon by Mayday miscreants? Why was Kangvai burnt down? Then the next narrative was born. Terrorists, militants. But then who are the actual terrorists and who are the actual militants? Well, if we are going to talk about terrorism and terrorist outfits, we must mention the 6 armed groups that have been classified as terrorist organizations by the Government of India under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, 1967. And these 6 groups, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, United National Liberation Front, UNLEF, People's Revolutionary Party of Kangli-Pak, PRE-PAK, Kangli-Pak Communist Party, KCP, Kangle Yawal Kambalup, KWKL, and Manipur People's Liberation Front, MPLF, in fact all belong to a certain majoritarian community. So who might be more deadly and dangerous? A simple Kukizo man out in the streets with a single-barrel gun to protect what's his, or an unlawful terrorist belonging to either one of these groups linked closely to the attacks? This is where common sense comes into play, and where many have failed to make use of it as such. The next question now is, why did it not end there and then? Why did the government not step in? Why did they sit back, watch, and allow more violence to perpetrate? Why did the Maytays take to the streets of Imphal and vandalize our churches and our homes? Why did they take our protest against the government personally and choose violence as their medium? Why did the government allow the rule of the mob throughout the capital? Why did the government allow our churches and homes in our localities to be burnt down, and why did the mobs desecrate the symbol of our faith with the Saleh Tarot? Furthermore, what kind of madness drove not only the mobs but also the Métis community as a whole to engulf themselves in such vile and degrading degrees of anger and hatred? How is it possible that in one single night humanity and common sense vanished off their heads? The 3rd of May, the divide, the cultured and targeted ethnic cleansing. The 3rd of May in many ways was a result of years-long accumulation of all the evil hatred on the part of the government. It was the result of the backdoor planning and hidden agendas, all owing to their benefit. The brutality did not stop there. For months to come, our villages deep in the hills were attacked with the state forces hand in hand with the militant outfits such as the Arambai Thingkho, Métis Le Malcha, etc. We had to safeguard our villages, and for that we began to stake out at the borders and defend our lands with whatever we could, wielding whatever we had. For the most part, our villages were not strong enough to withstand the powerful Métis from the valley, and with nothing else left to do, our fellow men had to flee their villages, flee their homes, and walk for miles. Climb through rough terrain to seek refuge and shelter from the blood-hungry Métis. The attacks on our villages did not stop. Till today, our villages lie vigilant and on the lookout towards the valley of death, waiting for the enemy. Young men, young boys, brothers, uncles, and fathers have been forced to leave their normal lives and take up arms to defend and protect their homes. Young and innocent children orphaned, deemed homeless. Old, helpless and innocent men and women with no place to call home for no fault of theirs. All because the government could not stop its extremist mobs. All because the very capable government of Manipur was incapable of protecting its own people. The majoritarian community has allowed themselves to become pawns of their government, some even ready to kill, rape, and torture in the name of it. This is what Biren Singh has made Manipur out to be, the most volatile state, unprecedented with chaos. Days have passed, months have passed, yet the willingness to look into and question the faults of the government are still nowhere to be seen, with the Métis community busy in their riffles to overlook and undermine whatever happened. Busy pointing fingers back at the oppressed. They seem to have forgotten that it should be Biren Singh and his government they should be asking accountability from. The Métis have seemed to have forgotten that it was and had always been the powerful, corrupt politicians who have the might to actually make things happen, not us the oppressed, chased out of our homes. In the midst of it all, they seem to have forgotten that it is the innocent of both sides that suffer the brunt of war the most. It is our helpless and it is our poor that will feel the wrath of it all. Without a doubt, both sides have suffered. That is the nature of war. But what is the scale of suffering like? Why are the Métis busy fighting us instead of fighting the government? Isn't it time to wake up now? The government built its ground on the hatred they culminated, and by allowing such hatred to drive you, to rape, burn, and kill, you have sunken down low. With over 150 unjust deaths, over 350 destroyed churches, 7,000 burnt homes, and over 40,000 internally displaced persons, the capable Manipur government has been unable to provide justice for certain crimes against the Kuki. Yet they can conveniently announce capital punishment for the victims of a particular community. Injustice reeks. The atypical response of Biren Singh and his government is disheartening. India, the largest democracy in the world, allowed its state to burn for well over 6 months, allowed the seat of the chief minister to a communal monster. India has failed us. India has failed its minority population.